US President Joe Biden has wrapped up his tour of the Middle East, telling Arab leaders that the US will not walk away from the region, but fail to secure security and oil commitments. Let's go to our political analyst and professor at Curtin University for our Monday morning chat. Joe Siracusa, good morning. So how would you rate his trip to the Middle East?
Good morning, Pete. Well, before I say that, I think we should note that the president's trip to the Middle East darkly coincided with New York City's public service ad to its people, how to survive a nuclear attack. I guess New York has less confidence in this president than anybody else. Look, he didn't get much what he wanted. With the Israelis, he extended President Trump's policies there. That's the Abraham Accord. He's not going to be moving any embassies or anything like that. He continues to disappoint the Palestinians. There's lip service to the two-state solution, but there is going to be no two-state solution. In fact, Pete, there's as much chance of that as Texas going back to Mexico. Now, with the Saudis, he wanted more oil production, and I listened very carefully to some of the Saudi ministers, and they're not going to give him increased oil production at this stage. They got their own game to play. And, of course, the Saudis are the big winners here because they've now returned to the family of nations. You know, he's given them this credibility they haven't had for a couple of years because their leader there wanted to kill Khashoggi. And, it's incredible how a leader of a nation can kill and chop somebody up in a foreign country. He said, interestingly, to an American question, that that Khashoggi wasn't really his main enemy. He said he had 1,000 other people he would have preferred to kill first. So this kind of guy we're dealing with. But look, the president didn't get anything. There's no shrewd diplomacy here. He did go back on the scene. America is now more and more mired in the Middle East. So there won't be, the pivot is back to the Middle East, I'm afraid.
How much of this was just for PR purposes, Joe? Just for Joe Biden to be seen in the Middle East, and it's his first trip to the Middle East as president. My point being, how much of this was about him being there to be seen doing something?
I'd say about 90% was about optics, to be seen, to be back. He likes to say that, to be back. Ironically here, he left a lot of the woke message out of this. He's always talking about human rights. That's what Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, and Secretary of State Blinken are always talking about. The trip may have been about optics, but he's further alienated the progressive wing of his party by failing to mention human rights. He's alienated a lot of people in the media for the same reason. But look, he showed up for the photo opportunity. He got that. It didn't look very attractive. And once again, the president probably overreached. And of course, if you don't have leverage, what are you doing there? He promised the Israelis that the Iranians will never acquire nuclear weapons. I worry a little about these words, never. How long is the United States going to be involved in that proposition without creating even worse conditions? So, Look, he didn't get what he wanted, and I'd give him probably a D- for this trip.
A D-. Okay. Well, I wonder what grade you're giving Kamala Harris at the moment, because I want to ask you about her. So Biden's left her behind. And she was talking about expanding access to transportation last week, and I'm reading a quote here. She says, "You need to get to go and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work and get home." It's quite a word salad there. She's done this before. I suppose it prompts my question to you, Joe. How do you think she's doing?
Well, look, I had great hopes for her in the beginning. She was quite good as a candidate, and she challenged Joe Biden for a New York minute there. She's received unfavorable ratings as much as 53%. People don't like her very much because she hasn't been able to handle the jobs. She's been given this tough portfolio. She was told to go down to the border and straighten things out, of course, which is not working out so well. Look, she wasn't really up for the job. The job's a lousy one too, Pete. FDR's vice president once called the vice president's job as likable as a pitcher of spit. She's got a really tough job, and she didn't do a very good thing.
Well, Greg Sheridan called her the worst VP since Quayle. How do you feel about that comment?
Well, look, I think Quayle was done in. He was smart. He was smarter than he looked, even though he couldn't spell potato right on national television in a kid's classroom. Look, she's not a likely successor to him. He chose her because he personally wanted her for the job. He didn't choose her because she was putting pressure on him in that campaign. So it was a personal choice. And I'm afraid that Kamala Harris is going to go down with the ship with her leader, because they're both have approval ratings underwater, and they're not going to be very successful next time around.
Yeah, and that's pretty much killed off any hope that she might have had to become president, I would have thought as well. Hey, Joe, we're out of time, unfortunately, but good chat. Talk to you again next week.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.